What is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. If Mike is out there, HBK Fan 25, gee whiz Apple Box right there in the back, little cameo for you. But the lead story out there on the day is that Daniel Bryan is locked into an agreement with AEW, where he will be jumping from the WWE. His contract expired shortly after WrestleMania. A lot of people thought that was kind of bigger news at the time. There was a lot of people that also thought that it was kind of locked that Daniel Bryan would stay with WWE. Everything that they've done for him and the success that he's had since he's been with the company on the main roster. When he started with NXT back in 2010 and then the Nexus deal, of course, him getting fired and then coming back for Team Cena against Nexus at SummerSlam in 2010. People thought that he was coming back. He was actually going to take some sort of a deal that would actually put him on the writing team, that would give ideas to what the show should be doing and basically trying to make wrestling better. In my opinion, I'm kind of worried about Daniel Bryan jumping to AEW. I know that he is a big name, but to me, when I look at AEW, they're acquiring a lot of big names, but they had a lot of big names from the beginning, and I'm kind of worried where he's going to fit into the mix out there. On the internet, there's also rumors that CM Punk is in talks about if he wants to come back to AEW and be on the team. So where really does a CM Punk and a Daniel Bryan fit in with a company that is kind of building itself about being the new superstars of wrestling, like the next breed, like not really having the biggest names in wrestling, but showing that the people that they have are hungry and want it more and want to deserve, bigger matches. In this past year, you've had Andrade signed to the company, Big Show, Mark Henry. Although Mark Henry and Big Show haven't had matches, the story at the time when they signed is that, when they needed to wrestle, they would. With so many WWE guys jumping to AEW, it just makes it really feel like the huge roster that WCW had, where they just had so many guys they could fill up a battle royal with 90 guys under roster at one time and still have guys sitting in the back and catering that weren't used on the pay-per-view. Of course, I'm talking about World War III back in the day. But I understand AEW, they have new shows that are going to be coming out. They have a new show that's going to be launching when Dynamite moves to TBS. They have another show that's going to come out. It's kind of be like their SmackDown to their Raw. But even with then, you're going to want to make sure guys like the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, are featured on each and every show. So how many slots do you really have where guys are going to have storylines? One of the best things that I find from watching AEW is that everybody that's on the show is on the show for a reason. Nobody's just coming out there to make an appearance because they don't really have anything, and they're wrestling in a match that doesn't really matter. Even if the matchup in the ring where the two aren't in a direct storyline, it affects the storyline that both of those people that are wrestling are involved in. It's like somebody on their writing team is really sitting down with a reason why these matches are happening, and it also helps that they keep track of records and things like that. So it makes wins and losses mean something instead of like in WWE where, week 1, this guy wins, week 2, this guy wins, week 3, there's a disqualification, and now we have a pay-per-view. It's kind of like we've figured out this kind of pattern, and it makes it where you're watching Raw and SmackDown. It makes it honestly kind of boring because you just kind of see what's going to be going down. Daniel Bryan coming off headlining the last year's WrestleMania, wrestled in what you guess you could be called the main event, even though I guess it's going to go down to saying that Bianca Belair wrestled in it when she won the championship from Sasha Banks. But the WWE Championship match where Daniel Bryan butted himself into there, I'm not sure if, because even when you're watching the show week in and week out, it didn't really make sense how Bryan got put in there. Maybe they kind of realized, like, oh shit, Daniel Bryan's contract is coming up and we don't really have anything for him at WrestleMania. Let's just put him into this Roman Reigns and Edge match and just act like here it is, and then just hoping that because he made a event at WrestleMania, he would re-sign with the company, and that would be it. So Daniel Bryan going over there, when it comes down to it, I mean, there's guys that we want to see him wrestle. There's guys, if you go back in the past, from Ring of Honor, from, PWG, you can find these dream matches from 10 years ago. But if Bryan gets there, and he kind of has that plan that they had like around WrestleMania 31, where it was like, okay, John Cena is going to take this mid-card title and he's going to run Raw. Daniel Bryan's going to take this mid-card title and he's going to run SmackDown, and they're going to be like exclusive to those brands. If Bryan wants to be kind of like one of the main guys that's on there, I can see it if he's kind of exclusive. Like, this is my show. This is going to be it. We've seen him be a GM in the past. Maybe he could be a wrestling GM. I mean, he was pretty good in that, where he was, running SmackDown. He was also running the Talking Shop thing, where he was involved in like that highly controversial thing with The Miz, where they kind of put together on the fly and didn't run it past anybody. And then it was said that Vince got mad at him for basically trying to start their own storyline that they couldn't finish, because at the time Bryan couldn't wrestle, but it was trying to push the issue to the point where they had to have him wrestle. I mean, that'd be pretty cool as well. But, I'm a fan of Daniel Bryan. I'll be glad to see him go. I think we all remember what it was like when he was finally able to come back to wrestling at WrestleMania 34, the one in Orlando. I think that's the one it was, where he tagged with Shane McMahon against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. None of us really thought we'd ever see Daniel Bryan wrestle a match again, and then he finally was able to get cleared. And he's still wrestling to the day, where all of us, was like, you watch every Daniel Bryan match that year, you're like sitting on pins and needles, like, oh shit, he landed on his neck, he's gonna die. We wouldn't be able to have him again. But that's it. We'll see what has to happen. We've seen this CM Punk story 1,000 times. If anybody's going to be able to bring him in, it's going to be Tony Khan. But then again, you can remember CM Punk making the public comments 3-4 years ago, when we all thought it was Cody Rhodes trying to sign him at the time. And Punk got mad that they actually sent the offer in a text message, and that kind of nipped that one in the butt. So we'll have to see what has to happen. I'm not saying that CM Punk's running out of money, but I think he's running out of that time in his career, that if he is going to wrestle and make money off of that, he needs to do it now.